Greetings, old school magic players, and welcome to the Four Horsemen. Greetings, old school magic players. Welcome to the Four Horsemen on a Sunday afternoon. Thanks for joining us for today's video. In today's video, we're going to be covering tournament number 19, the much awaited last of the tournament 19 semifinals matches. I am joined here today with my friend and fellow Four Horsemen player, Tim Kincaid. Tim, how you doing? Tim, are you with me?
Hey, Chad, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
how you doing?
Good. Tim and I have been doing several of these match commentaries together. John's been doing a lot of family stuff, and it's been great to have Tim with me doing player commentary. So we appreciate you volunteering your time with us, Tim, and it's been really interesting to see your insights. In today's match, we're going to be covering, as I said, the last of the Tournament 19 semifinals, and then we'll be publishing the finals match to follow. Tournament 19 ran February 15th through March 16th, and if you'd like to learn more, just go to fourhorsemenmagic.com and go to tournaments and click on Tournament 19. You can check out all the details there. Tim, this has been a very interesting tournament, and we're going to be giving away these Four Horsemen player-made John Eckleberry specials, the Rook tokens, Arabian Nights Islands, and a lot of other cool prizes for our top 8 players. And our first place player will receive a Ken Meyer Jr. custom artwork Guardian Beast Purple Moonlight playmat. Unique to the Four Horsemen, signed and numbered, stitch edges, really cool stuff, great art, and we'll be shipping one of those out to our first place winner. All right, Tim, let's get into the brackets and the deck techs. Today we're going to be covering the match of Lorenzo Ricetta versus Jacob Monk. Lorenzo and Jacob have navigated their group pod matches and the quarterfinal playoffs and are facing off today in the semifinals. Tim, let's take a look at these two decks. We've got Erhnam's Lust and Old Men in the Sky with Diamonds, which is the name that Jacob gave for his Old Man of the Sea deck. Two really interesting brews here. Let's talk about Lorenzo's deck first. What do you think of Lorenzo's red-green Erhnam's Lust brew?
Yeah, he's got a few interesting deviations from the traditional red-green aggro. Let's see the main deck, Blood Moons. He's got an Inferno. He's got 3 Jalem Tomes and a couple of Winds of Change.
Yeah.
For starters.
Yeah, he's got some really cool cards that, you're right, we don't often see. Winds of Change. Let me pull up Winds of Change. Winds of Change is typically something we see in the combo decks, right?
Right.
Most often we see this in Land's Edge. What do you think about his choice to run Winds of Change here?
I'm trying to explore and look, and I assume since he thinks, well, I've got Sylvan Library, it is a shuffle effect. And if he hits a land pocket or draws too many lands, or maybe extra copies of Blood Moon, since he usually needs to drop 1, that could be useful, especially with a Sylvanaught. I could see that, and like I said, shuffling away those extra Blood Moons or extra lands. So, yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah, mid to late game, if he's got a lot of lands, he's not playing Land's Edge, although he certainly could run a Land's Edge instead of Inferno, or maybe even run Land's Edge in the sideboard. Typically we see those two cards together, but there's a few other cards that late game might not be super great. A late game Curd Ape is usually pretty bad. And you could argue if you're up against a lot of artifacts, the Argothian Pixies are fantastic. But, in Four Horsemen, with the Elves of Deep Shadow and Fellwar Stones, it's actually very common to face down an Erhnam Djinn, a Suchi, even like a Dancing Scimitar, or any of a Juzum Djinn, right? There are a lot of cards that you could be facing on turn 3 that are pretty heavy duty, and the Curd Apes and the Pixies can be really not great. However, this deck is built around Bloodlust. What do you think about running 4 main deck Bloodlust in combination with all these small creatures?
It's solid. He's kind of all in on the burn here. He's got 4 chain, 4 pyrotechnics, and 4 bloodlust just to help. With those early drops, apes and pixies, the bloodlust is basically 2 mana and 4 damage to your opponent. I like the 4 bloodlust a lot, and it helps him as removal against bigger threats too, if only against the small guys.
Yeah. Let me just pull up Bloodlust here, because that is another card. We often talk about how Four Horsemen lets you play cards that you played a lot as kids that are just not competitive in most other formats, old school formats. But in Four Horsemen, a lot of these cards are powerhouses just because of the meta and the card mix. Bloodlust is just classic art, right, by Anson Maddox. It looks like it's a gypsy, right, who's like cuddling up to this like flesh, this wall of blood flesh, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've looked at the wording, the Gatherer wording on Bloodlust, but it used to pretty much make sense, right? Target creature gets +4/-4 until the end of turn, and if it takes that creature below 1, it stays at 1. Well, the new wording is really just much more complicated. It says, if target creature has a toughness that's greater than 5, then it gets +4/-4 until the end of turn. Otherwise, if it's not greater, toughness greater than 5, otherwise it gets +4/-X, where X is its toughness -1.
I wonder why they chose to word it like that. That's kind of complicated, but I think for us old school players, we just think, oh, it's bloodlust. We know what that does. But I guess that could be relevant at some point. I don't know why they worded it that way, but that's interesting.
Well, even the deck names, many times I'll choose the players' deck names if they don't have a deck name, but Lorenzo wanted this deck named Erhnam's Lust. Like, he wanted that name because it really is about the Curd Apes, the Pixies, and the Erhnam Djinns, and the Bloodlusts. I'm also kind of looking at his 3 of Jaloom tomes. Let me pull up Jaloom tome here, because we don't typically see 3 Jaloom tomes. We'll typically see 1 or maybe 2. He's really doubled down not only on the Bloodlust, but also on Jaloom tome. And I think that these 2 strategies are interrelated. I think, just like you said, Tim, Lorenzo is all in on Red Burn. He even went so far as having an Inferno in his deck as a potential finisher at the very end of the game, late game, wiping the board.
I like it.
Yeah. And I think that's what's going on with these Jaloom tomes. He's planning on cycling away every single card, right? He only needs 1 Blood Moon, right? So there's 2 extra Blood Moons he won't need. He may not need the Winds of Change. He may benefit significantly from it. But the Winds of Change, the Jaloom Tome, and all the burn, these strategies are all related, right? He's planning on cycling away everything as rapidly as he can to get to those chains, get to those bloodlusts, get to those pyrotechnics. And it's really smart.
Yeah, Jaloom Tome is probably my favorite card drawing engine in the Four Horsemen format, and it's just 2 mana. And people think, oh, it's not card advantage, but in old school theory, they always said, well, or just Magic theory in general, they've always said card advantage wins games, right? Card advantage wins. But with Jaloom Tome, it's really emphasizing quality over quantity. So it's card quality, and that's something that's very important too.
Wow. That's a really insightful point.
Yeah, if you just draw 3 blood moons and like 5 lands, like those aren't going to help you later in the game, especially if he already has a blood moon out. So those extra, 4 or 5 cards can just be turned into solid gold. You can just pay 2 mana for each one and turn them into something relevant. So I like Jaloom Tome with the extra blood moons. Just the cycle is away. He just wants to see one ditch him. And like you said, there's going to be little men that aren't great late. Perhaps he doesn't have the creatures out and he needs to cycle Bloodlust.
Right.
Just try to burn his opponent out with burn. So yeah I like 3 Jaloom Tome.
Yeah, it's a very like we see there's a lot of all-ins that Lorenzo is making. He's sacrificing other cards. Like he could be running Fishers. He could be running even things like John Eccleberry ran Eternal Flame for extra red damage. He could be running things like, Diamond Valley and Rook Eggs for flying damage. He's opting away from those cards, and he's going all in on the Blood Moons to basically mess with the opponent's mana base. The Winds of Change, the Jaloom Tomes, and all the direct damage. Pretty cool.
Another interesting thing, he doesn't have Elves of Deep Shadow. We've seen a lot of red-green with the Elves because that's your accelerant to help pump out, the turn 3 Erhnam or the turn 3 or turn 4 Pyrotechnics in his case, or a turn 3 Ruck Egg, but he's not running Ruck Egg.
Nope, he's not running Ruck Egg.
And he doesn't have the Elves. So I think he just sacrificed a little bit of speed and no Pendlehaven since there's no Elf. He sacrificed that to give him some late game staying power and card quality late game with the Jaloom Tomes.
Yeah, that's a good observation. When we look at his mana base, since we're talking about ramp, pretty much running extra lands or running Fellwar Stones or running Elves of Deep Shadow, those are the 3 ramps in Four Horsemen. And what we see is most decks are typically running 23 or 24 lands, at least 23 lands that can tap for mana. He's running 22 lands that can tap for mana and a Maze of Ith. What do you think about his mana base here? He's not running Fellwars, so he doesn't have that ramp, but he's got the Curd Apes for 1 drop and the Chains for 1 drop. He's got the Bloodlusts, the Sylvan Library, and the Argothian Pixies for 2 drops. He's got the 3 Jaloom Tomes and the 3 Blood Moons for 3 drops. And then for 4 drops, he's got Erhnam Djinns, and 5 drops, he's got Pyrotechnics, and for 6, he's got Triskelion, and he tops it off at the high end with, the one of Inferno. So he's got a very nice, well-balanced mana curve across the deck.
I think he could almost have played 1 more land at like 23, perhaps, or even 24, but 22... I could see it being a little light. There's no land. If he gets a Sylvan, he's good. I really think that the Winds of Change and the Jaloom Tomes help him with the light land count, because if he happens to have a bunch of high-end drops like Pyrotechnics, Triskelion, or the Inferno or something, he can cast the Winds of Change if he's on 3 mana, or cast the Jaloom Tome and then cycle the higher stuff to get the lands into play. So I think it works.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see this type of engine, the Winds of Change, the extra Jaloom Tomes. Why do you think, if he's running Blood Moon, why not run Ball Lightning? Why not run... Because Ball Lightning can be 6 damage for 3 mana.
Yeah, that's a thought. He does have 5 basic forests. He would still need to draw 3 other lands plus the 1 for. It seems like it would be castable maybe by. You may not get it by turn 3 or 4, but if he plays a Blood Moon, he could start pumping out Ball Lightnings thereafter, I would think. So yeah, that would have been a possibility. Maybe he just didn't consider it with the forests. I don't know, but
yeah. Well, that's typically what we see when we see people going all in on the red. We don't typically see the Winds of Change and extra Jaloom Tomes and things. We see the Ball Lightnings. So this is an interesting, different take. Let's take a look at Lorenzo's sideboard real quick. What do you think of the sideboard here, Tim?
He says, well, you're not going to deck me. I've got my Feldenskane. So
that's right.
Pretty good. Against like Millstone, Field of Dreams strategies, or these other Feldenkane cycle decks.
Yeah. And what do you think about these Beasts of Bogarden down here? Let me pull those guys up.
I have played them in my sideboard before in Four Horsemen, and I think I even he almost made my deck this current month in tournament 20. That is, I think it's solid. It's protection from red. So any creature that says, "Hey, you can't cast Chain Lightning or Pirate, you can't burn me," haha, and I can block Kurt Apes and your guys or whatever. He's solid. Plus, if they're playing white, he's a 4/4 for 5. So yeah, that's a solid creature.
Yeah, yeah. If they're playing white, I mean, there's not a ton of white out there, but certainly land tax is pretty prominent. So if you come up against a land tax deck, a tax edge deck, you know, he's going to be bigger. And if you really come up against another red deck, that's, I think, what Lorenzo's worried about here, right? If he comes up against another Blood Moon mono red or heavy red green, you know, aggro deck, he can swap out things like the Kurt Apes are not great when you got Chain Lightning, and the Argothian Pixies are not great, you know, with all this red aggro damage. Mm-hmm. So he could swap out his some of his weenie creatures for these Beasts of Bogarden, and maybe even put in some more the extra Infernos, especially if he thinks it's going to be a long game, and he can slide in that Felden's Cane. Not only does that Felden's Cane give him the ability to last out on the long games, but if he comes up against a control deck, you know, or a millstone deck, or even if it's a game where he's gone through a lot of his burn and he wants to get the burn back into his deck, Felden's Cane recycles your whole graveyard into your library. And this is a card we all played as kids, you know, on like sidewalk Magic, but it's not typically viewed as a very powerful card. What do you think about him running that Felden's to recycle damage?
That could be relevant if there's some key cards in the matchup with Sylvan, having the shuffle effects with the Sylvan. With Winds of Change, he can like put them back in the deck and get another shuffle effect with the Cane, see through new cards, recycle the important card in that matchup back into his hand off the top of a Sylvan, play a Winds of Change, shuffle it again, you know, and see another one of the cards that he had brought back in with the Cane. I could see that being able to play something, you know, that was really strong in that particular match, like, you know, 3 or 4 times easily. But back to the Beasts of Bogarden.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I was thinking, Chad, is the prevalence of Ruck Egg in a lot of decks right now.
Right.
And if he plays Erhnam Gens and Apes and Pixies and they play a Ruck Egg, he's like, oh no, like how do I get through this Ruck Egg? Yeah. So it's kind of genius. You can go with the Beasts and all of a sudden you can kill them with the Ruck Eggs there and they can't stop your attack.
That's right. You're right. That's a really great point. Rook Egg is everywhere. You know, before we started the video today, I was showing Tim a red-green, just kind of standard red-green brew that I've been working on, and it relies mainly on Rook Eggs and Drop of Honey and Erhnam Gens. So it is an interesting idea that he can get through that Rook Egg defense, because once Rook Egg comes down, if your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with a 4/4 flyer, like a Boomerang to pop that token up and out, you know, or a Pyrotechnics, or an oubliette or something, their ground assault is gonna be on pause while the Rook Egg is sitting there, and this guy can just get right on through, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know, another cool synergy I noticed with Lorenzo's sideboard, I think this is quite genius. He can go up to 3 Inferno, and with those Beasts of Bogarden, their protection from red, he plays the Inferno, 6 damage to all creatures. So all creatures are like destroyed except for his Beast of Bogarden, which can then attack. So that's a pretty cool combo.
Right. Yeah, you know, Inferno has been showing up in more and more decks as 1-ofs and 2-ofs, and I mean, this card is not easy to cast. It is double red and 5. 7 mana with a double red, but it's an instant. It's not a sorcery. It's an instant, and it does 6 damage to all players and all creatures. So it's a really interesting card from the dark this is another one that we never really see in other old school formats, but it's really starting to shine here in Four Horsemen.
Yeah, and he's got the 4 active volcano, the 2 crumble. Those are kind of straightforward cards, you know, anti-blue, active volcano,
Right.
some anti-artifact with the crumble. But I could also see the crumble working overtime for Lorenzo in his build. Again, if he goes up with the Infernos, that's a lot of damage, 6 damage to himself as well. A couple City of Brass, he could be inflicting some pain on himself. That crumble can, in a pinch, cast at his own Triskelion or his own Jalem Tome,
Right.
and possibly help him to live while he finishes off the opponent with like an Inferno or something.
Yeah. So really cool brew by Lorenzo, Erhnam's Lust. No surprise that Lorenzo's made it into the semis here. With that, let's take a look at Jacob Monk's deck. This is Jacob's, I believe, second or third time making it into the semis. And he's been riffing off of this immolation Old Man of the Sea theme. What do you think of his brew here, Old Man in the Sky with Diamonds?
I like the name, the Diamonds. I guess that would be the, he's alluding to the Diamond Valley, so he can steal their creature with this Old Man of the Sea, sack it to the Diamond Valley, and he can just basically just steal all their creatures. And,
yeah, well, and it's also a play on the Beatles song, you know, A Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Oh, okay.
Which is a reference to LSD.
Okay. And of course the sky part, well, he's got all these blue flyers, all the ghost ships and the Azure Drakes,
right,
loaded flying creatures. So I really think that Immolation is just a sweet card in this deck. You know, of course, people are Chain Lightning and Remove Soul. They all know that those cards do work. They are staples, right? They're good removal. But the Immolation, like, you don't see it played as much, but it's pretty good. You know, it's -2. It's like a red weakness. It's a little better than weakness. It can kill a 2 toughness creature for 1 red, but then it also can give 2 power to something that has more than 2 toughness. Like, it can be an aggressive offensive card on his 4 toughness flyers. It can make those into 4/2 flyers, or especially his Old Man of the Sea can become, what would that be, Chad? Like a 4/1? And what would that do?
Yeah. His Old Man of the Sea can be a 4/1, and he can take control of, you know, like an Erhnam Djinn is really what he's targeting there, or a Suchi. And if you put the Immolation on the Ghost Ship or the Azure Drake, your flyer becomes a 4 damage flyer at that point. And there's really a significant advantage if he puts it on the Ghost Ship, because the Ghost Ship can regenerate for 3 blue. Now it's a 4/1 flying regenerator, which is really hard to deal with.
Yeah, that's tough. 4/1 flying regenerates. And so, yeah, the Diamond Valley, along with the Old Man, the really neat touch I see with that combo is he also has 2 City of Shadows, Chad. And it's like, you can only play 1 Diamond Valley, right? It's restricted. So the 2 City of Shadows kind of act as a Diamond Valley in a sense, in that it's a way to sacrifice the creature that the Old Man takes.
That's right. Yeah, City of Shadows is a really cool card. It was in the last version of Jacob's brew that was similar to this, and he's really doubling down on it. You tap it. It's from the dark. You tap it. You exile a creature that you control, and you put a storage counter on the land. And then you can tap this land for mana, colorless mana, equal to this number of storage counters on it. So over time, this single land can tap for more and more mana, which will be able to power out Azure Drakes, which is good. And it allows you, like you said, let me pull up Old Man of the Sea here. Old Man is what this deck is all about, right? And the synergies between Old Man and City of Shadows is the combo. All right.
Yeah, and if he happens to like get that City of Shadows where it can produce 2 colorless or 3 colorless mana, I could see him doing some neat things with he has a Singleton Amnesia and a Singleton Recall. And late game, you know, he could cast those with some of that extra city mana, so that could be neat.
Right. Yeah.
Like a big recall.
Yeah. Yeah, Old Man is what it's all about. This is an entire deck that's built around the synergies of the Old Man of the Sea. No surprise he's running 4 of them. And the whole Immolation, City of Shadows, Diamond Valley, Old Man combo. And then the rest of his deck is like really a derivative, I think, of the mono blue Skies deck that John Eckleberry was working on. In some of the Tournament 18 videos, John mentioned he's played Jacob in many of the other formats. and Jacob has different versions of this same, old man of this old man of the sky with diamonds. He's got different versions of the same deck in all the different formats that he plays, and so he's very familiar with all the ins and outs. And he's bringing this brew to the Four Horsemen for Tournament 19 and facing off in the semis with it. So he's done quite well.
Yeah, I think that I was just kind of looking at his sideboard and the deck, and he looks like he has the sideboard tuned pretty well. He's got some neat cards in there, some anti-artifact. He's got the flash counters. I was even thinking that his deck would be soft or weak, particularly to the active volcano, which we're going to probably see sideboarded from Lorenzo. I believe he had 4 of those. For 1 red, he can destroy any of the 12 creatures in Jacob's deck, instant speed, minus maybe a ghost ship that can regenerate. But he does have a couple of boomerangs and a mana drain to try to stop the active volcano. But the flash counter is kind of cool. I was almost thinking he could splash like green, Tropical Island or something, or for a Void Fate just to stop the active volcano because he's so soft to that afterboard. But flash counter would probably get it done.
Yeah, it's great. It stops boomerangs, it stops divine offerings taking on his spell wars, it stops mana drains. He's also got the force spikes in the sideboard in case he comes up against other control decks. He can counter spell for 1. So I really like the flash counter. There is a argument to be made, like you said, that in some cases the boomerangs might be just as useful, but he's got 2 boomerangs in the main and no boomerangs on the side, so he's not leaning in real heavy on the boomerangs. It's just a utility, that has some versatility when he needs it.
Yeah, it looks good. He's got his anti-red, anti-blue cards in the board, and a lot of anti-artifact. I like the 1 mirror universe against a lot of burn. That seems good too.
Yeah. I've started to think that mirror universe belongs in almost every single Four Horsemen deck.
It's quite good, isn't it?
It doesn't even matter if you're playing aggro or not, right? If you're playing aggro and you get a mediocre draw and you happen to be a little bit behind, you mirror universe, and then you're going to be coming into all your burn and you wipe your opponent out. If you come up against control, they gain a ton of life, and you're hitting them, beating them up, but they're gaining life and things like that. And meanwhile, your plan is just to find your mirror universe and switch with them and finish them off.
Yeah, another card I would have liked to see in Jacob's board, the Old Man with 3 toughness. He's kind of weak to, of course, Chain Lightning, or he's weak to Triskelion as well. I think Artifact Blast, since he's blue-red, would be a great card to stop the Triskelion from taking out his Old Man late game. He has the forward move soul, but that would just be another way to disrupt that. Maybe an Artifact Blast or 2.
Yeah, Artifact Blast. This is a card that I've been messing around with in a lot of these Four Horsemen decks for quite a while. And people were kind of teasing me about it early on. But, I mean, it's a counterspell, basically. It's a red counterspell, and it can, for 1 red instant, can counter any artifact. It's particularly good against, like you said, Triskelion, but it also counters Mirror Universe, Thomas Coffin, a lot of these other powerful cards that we're seeing a lot of. And for 1 red, it's a bargain on the mana.
Yep. Other than that, I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. It's a lot of burn. I mean, if he can keep Ivory Tower down, I can't remember if Lorenzo has many ways to kill the tower main deck.
Well, I mean, let's take a look. We can pop back onto Lorenzo's deck real quick. He's not running any main deck artifact destruction, and his only artifact destruction in his sideboard is 2 crumbles. So he is running the Argothian Pixies main deck, but that's not artifact destruction. It just means that things like Triskelions can't hurt him or block him. So yes, he's going to need to figure out how to manage the Ivory Tower if it comes.
The game 1 Ivory Tower. Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens, right?
Yeah. Really cool brew by Jacob. Second time we've seen this kind of spicy immolation, Old Man, Diamond Valley, City of Shadows, and the Blue Skies Flyer. Also we got that 1 Amnesia sitting over there, and the Recall and the Mana Drain. He's got a lot of good utility cards that are one-ofs here. And like you pointed out, really solid sideboard. So if you were to make some predictions, Tim, Erhnam's Lust or Old Man in the Sky with Diamonds, who do you think's favorite here?
Oof, it's going to come down. I think the key card game one for Jacob is the Ivory Tower. If he can get that down pretty early and keep his cards, he's going to be in great shape. I don't expect the old man to actually live very long with 4 chains and 4 pyrotechnics and then the active volcano sideboard. I do think that if Jacob was to like somehow play the old man slow with like Boomerang or Mana Drain backup, like he has 5 mana to play it, then he might have a chance to take some control in this game. Otherwise, I think it's going to favor Lorenzo.
Yeah, I think you're right, you know, but to play devil's advocate here, if Lorenzo can survive the early and mid game and stabilize those regenerating ghost ships could really be a problem for the Erhnam's Lust deck.
Yeah, he won't be able to do much damage. In fact, that's about his only good answer for an Erhnam Gen is if he can stick that ghost ship and keep it from dying. But then if he pays triple blue to regenerate to, say, an Erhnam, he's still got to then hope that he doesn't get Pyrotechnics and lose it, because I doubt he'll have 6 blue to regenerate twice.
Yeah, it's a lot of burn to overcome. So let's get to the match, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to be toggling over here. We'll switch over. All right, so we've got the match queued up. Jacob's on the left, and Lorenzo's on the right here. Tim and I are going to be playing this back at 1.5, and I will just say I hit the record just a bit late on this, so Lorenzo's actually already taken his first turn, dropped a mountain. So we'll get right into the match on 3. Tim, you ready?
Yep.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Is that just an immediate strip mine from Jacob? He's like, I'll take out your mountain.
That's right. An immediate strip mine. Mountain land for Lorenzo on the right, and a strip mine for Jacob on the left. And right away, just trying to keep Lorenzo off mana.
That tells me that Jacob probably has a heavy land hand if he plays the strip mine out like that immediately.
That's a very interesting insight. You're right. He needs 3 mana, including double blue, to get to the old man. So, Lorenzo's really adjusting his camera all over the place here. Yeah. So you're right. He's probably got plenty of mana, and here you see he's dropping a second turn Fellwar right into the Chain Lightning because he could tap it for that Fellwar for red.
Oh, nice play.
And it's good because Lorenzo's tapped out. So later in the game, playing Chain Lightning can come back to haunt you. Can get bounced back to you. So
look, Lorenzo has 22 lands, and if Jacob knows this, right, it's open deck list, correct, Chad, in the semifinals?
That's right. After we go to top 8 and anything after, all the players, they all talk about the decks. Everyone shares, and it's only fair to kind of follow the model that they do in tournaments. So we share the top 8, and we share all the deck photos after top 8. So yeah, these guys definitely can take a peek. And many of the good players do.
Lorenzo missed a land drop on his 3rd turn, and now it's turn 4. He has the factor. So I was thinking that maybe Jacob, that's all the more reason for him to just strip a land, knowing his opponent's playing a 22 mana deck.
Yes, agreed. And there are lots of cards that Lorenzo has that can come in for 1, 2, or 3 mana. Oh, wow. Remove Soul on that 3rd Argothian Pixies. That's pretty good for Jacob there. Those guys would have gotten in for a lot of damage.
Interesting. That tells me Jacob must not have a single creature that can block a 2/1. Like any of his dudes could block that.
Yeah, the Old Man of the Sea would be a great option. It can steal it or block it. Old Man can also block that factory and not die, or steal the factory.
Yeah, the Ghost Ship or the Azure Drake as well. All 12 of his creatures. So playing a Remove Soul on a 2/1 is like, I don't have creatures in my hand.
All right.
It's not good for Jacob if he doesn't have them.
Yeah, I think you're early guess, your early educated guess that Jacob had a ton of mana is proven true here. He's got 6 mana on turn 5 and not much else.
Yeah, if I have that solo restricted strip mine, I'm usually saving that card for something important like a factory or a diamond valley, something. At least the factory or the Maze of Ith, right? And just playing it out, I'm like, he's got to have a ton of mana. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's coming in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Recalling for 2. Interesting.
2 more mana.
Getting rid of the City of Shadows and a Fell War and getting back the Strip Mine and the Chain. I like it.
Nice.
I like it. Taking out that Mistress Factory and chaining
he played the Chain and the Strip Mine all that turn. Wow.
Yeah, because he's got so much mana. So that's a really devastating turn and really nicely played by Jacob.
Yeah, it is. And that's another reason when you got a recall in your deck, you can play that Strip Mine aggressively. That's a pretty cool combo.
Okay, so Lorenzo started off real strong here, putting a lot of pressure, but Jacob's had an answer for every single quick, rapid pressure that Lorenzo's put down. So Lorenzo's recouping here, rethinking his strategy, but Jacob's down to 1 card. Oh my goodness, this is Pixie number 4.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's
so the
crazy.
first 3 he played Chain Lightning twice that he recalled and a Remove Soul for the 3rd one, but now here's the 4th one sticks.
Yeah. So if you're Lorenzo here, are you thinking about drawing extra cards? I know I would be.
Oh yeah, Lorenzo did that last turn. He paid 4 life, went to 16. I would probably just draw another one or 2 more. Like I would go to 12 or 8 pretty quick.
Okay, so Lorenzo finally gets to 4 mana on turn like 7, or 8. And he's going in for the Erhnam Djinn, I would assume. There it is.
Paying life for Lorenzo is relevant for multiple reasons. Jacob's only burn his Chain Lightning, I believe, and he's played 1. So that means he can only deal 9 if he drew all his chains. Well, there's the second one on that 4th Pixie. So
wow.
Now he can only do 6 damage of burn to Lorenzo. So even if Lorenzo's at like 8, he can survive. The other reason paying life for Lorenzo is relative here is Jacob has that 1 lone mirror universe.
Right.
So if Lorenzo goes low, that will deflate the power of that mirror universe.
But that mirror is in his sideboard. It's not in the main board. So that.
Oh, it's not. Oh, I apologize.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's going to be relevant game 2 and 3 for sure. Okay. Wow, look at this. Erhnam, Attack, and Bloodlust. Oh, wow, look at this. Boomerang. Oh,
yeah, the boomerang.
Wow, so that burns out a Bloodlust that gets this shows you the power of Boomerang. Boomerang is so powerful in Four Horsemen.
Yeah, it's one of the few instant tricks during combat, and it can be removal, instant speed against like tokens and things. And when they play a pump spell like Bloodlust, normally you're not too worried. There's no Swords to Plowshare, no Lightning Bolt. Instant speed, but then the boomerang. Oops, I forgot about that.
That's right. Yeah, and if someone tries to enchant your creature, you pop them back. If someone's trying to, pyrotechnics, chain lightning, or whatever, or in scenarios like this, you're trying to pump your creature up, and suddenly they're back in your hand. But here comes Erhnam again.
It's quite good against my Juxtaposed deck this month too that I played.
Ooh, looky there, Tim. There's that one of Ivory Tower for Jacob.
Well, he got it late though. Like I said, if he could get it early while he has cards, now it's ugh.
He needs to come into Maze of Ith or his Ghost Ship so he can.
It's actually extremely weak. It's almost a dead card at this point in the game. I don't know if he has any way to draw cards, and he's facing 6 damage.
Yeah, he really doesn't. It's not looking great for Jacob right here, even though he really put up a great defense early on. Lorenzo, even without drawing a ton of extra cards, it looks like he's just drawn 1 extra card off with Sylvan. He's just really been able to continuously put a ton of pressure on Jacob. Oh, and Jacob's just scooping with that second Erhnam there.
Not a single creature from Jacob's deck. No Ghost Ship, no blocker of any kind.
It's brutal. So he missed out on 4 Ghost Ships, 4 Azure Drakes, the Maze of Ith, the 4 Old Men of the Sea. He just didn't see any of them.
Yeah, if he had an Old Man or even a Drake, he could have just saved that Remove Soul and let his opponent play a Pixie and save those Remove Souls for those Erhnam Djinns. But that's tough. His deck just didn't give him any love.
let's pause here, Tim, on three. 1, 2, 3. And let me switch over to the sideboards. And let's talk about sideboarding for this match. Since Jacob lost, why don't we start with Jacob's deck first? Tim, if you're Jacob here, what are you going to sideboard?
Well, that mirror universe, I think, is going to come in, and because even if it gets crumbled, it means you gain 6 life. That's huge, and it could possibly gain him if you switch, it could gain him like 15 life or something. If you switch that much life. I think the mirror. I'm trying to think. Flash counter. What would flash counter stock? Crumble, bloodlust. I don't know about the flash counter or none of the artifact energy flux against Lorenzo.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead cards in his sideboard, but you know what I'm thinking, Tim? I'm thinking about what you observed in game 1. You mentioned that, number 1, you observed that Jacob had to have a lot of mana in his hand, and he did. He had all mana and nothing else, pretty much. He stripped the land right away, and he's cognizant, if he looked at the deck photos, of the fact that Lorenzo only has 22 lands to tap for mana, right? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mountains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forests. So that's 13. He's got the 4 taigas, that's 17. He's got the Hammerheim, the strip mine, it's 18, 19. And he's got the 2 cities, that's 20 and 21, and then the factories to make 22 lands. So his land count is extremely lean. So what I'm doing is I'm looking in very closely at those 4 spikes.
Oh yeah, 4 spike would be gold. The flash floods would be gold.
Yeah, of course. The flash floods are like an obvious answer, and the mirror universe. So he really needs 7 slots. He needs
7.
3 for the flash flood, 3 for the 4 spikes, and 1 for the mirror. So what are you going to take out to squeeze that stuff in?
I'm trying to decide if I really like Amnesia against Lorenzo's deck. Maybe, because Lorenzo does have 4 pyrotechnics and the 3 trikes. So I guess you could leave that. It's not great late game, but I'm definitely thinking, here's what I'm thinking, Chad. I'm thinking that he may not need the speed of a Felwar Stone that just gives him red. He only needs 1 red to cast his chains and his immolations. He's not weak against. I'm thinking he could cut a couple Felwar, and I would take the 4 immolation because the immolation doesn't kill anything but maybe a pixie. Oh well, it kills a pixie, doesn't it?
Well, let's look at Jacob's mana. So okay. It just so turns out, if you consider that Diamond Valley, Maze of Ith, and the City of Shadows don't tap for mana, the City of Shadows won't tap until something gets sacrificed, right? So Jacob actually has 22 lands to tap for mana as well, which is pretty lean. But his deck mostly costs 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So his mana curve is fairly low. The Felwar Stones are what give him the ability to get the old man out early and start stealing stuff with them. But he doesn't have a ton of mana either. So Jacob could be just as vulnerable to the early strip. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to take out the
How about
Felwar.
this route? How about he's got his opponent, he sees he's playing against Blood Moon, if you're Jacob.
Yeah.
Or he's got 3 Blood Moon. Also, I think he's really going to have a tough time having that old man stick and do work against all the 4, active volcano, 4 chain lightning, and
Right.
power takes. I feel like the City of Shadows is probably not going to combo this game with the old man.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so I think those 2 are instant. I'm almost looking at even I think you have to keep the Diamond Valley, but it's really not going to be great against the Blood Moon. But I guess you have to leave. So I'm thinking the 2 cities. I'm thinking at least maybe 1 Felwar Stone, and I don't really know how he can make room for everything.
Well, what if you just continue down the path that you're going on, Tim? What if he abandons the old man City of Shadows combo altogether? That would give him 6 slots right there. And he could focus in on just trying to stick a immolated ghost ship as his win condition and defense in every other way. and Mirror Universe to switch life.
That could work. He would just be a blue flying control deck.
Right.
With meter and removal.
And you could even argue maybe he doesn't need the immolations, right? Because the big combo is with Old Man and Immolation to steal Erhnam Djinn. So he'll have to have a way to deal with Erhnam Djinn, which is ultimately what killed him last turn. But you know, think about it. He has to have a 3-card combo to do that. He has to have Old Man, Immolation, and either Diamond Valley or City of Shadows in order to steal that 4-power creature.
I'm counting up Jacob's lands. It looks like he has 22 mana-producing lands.
That's right.
The 2 cities, the diamond. I'm still thinking he could cut 2 Felwar in this matchup because all they're going to do is give him red, and he's going to have a ton of red.
Yeah.
And really, what is he accelerating into? I would probably just cut the Amnesia and the couple of Felwar since he's not going to go on, try to make a ton of mana.
So take out the Amnesia, take out 2 Felwars, and take out the 2 City of Shadows. That's 5. And he could go down to 3 Old Men instead of 4, so that's 6. And we just need 1 more for the Mirror Universe, so maybe take out 1 Immolation. And then you've got 7 cards.
I suppose that would work. I think Flash... it's a tough call. Is Flash Flood better than Immolation?
Well, Flash Flood is primarily going to target either Curd Apes or Blood Moon, right? Those are the only permanents that Lorenzo has that are red, is Blood Moon and Curd Ape.
Yeah, that could work though. 1 Old Man, 1 Immolation, 2 Felwar, 2 City. And
but if he's moving away from the City of Shadows, does he really care about Blood Moon?
No, I'm not. I don't really care about the Blood Moon.
Right. So if you don't,
I would only care if he had like a Maze or a Diamond Valley down. But I still think he'd probably bring at least 2 Flash Flood.
Yeah.
Nothing else to kill an early 8 or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking Jacob really doesn't care about Blood Moon if he's moving away from the City of Shadows strategy. Although, getting an early Maze of Ith is very strong. So you're right. Maybe he just does 2 Flash Flood, the 3/4 Spike, and the Mirror. He takes out the Amnesia, 1 Old Man, 1 Felwar, 1 Immolation, and 1 City, and he can swap out those for them.
Yeah, that seems like that would work.
I think that's probably what I would be doing. Obviously, we're really going into in depth here. Jacob had a really hard time match 1, but that's probably the right move on his sideboard. Let's jump over to Lorenzo's deck and let's talk about Lorenzo's sideboard. Is he going to make any changes here?
I think he is. I think he's going to... I like Stormseeker, and I think he has to bring at least 1 Crumble in just for the Ivory Tower threat. Stormseeker is also another good card against Tower threat, and it's just more burn. I think he's going to do that. And then, of course, the 4 active volcanoes, I think, are going to be key. So I'm thinking, like, at least 1 Crumble, probably Stormseekers, and then 4 actives.
Well, when you've got the boomerangs around and Maze of Ith and things like that, the Bloodlusts can be risky, right?
Right.
But the Bloodlust could be a defense against Old Man. So if he tries to steal something, well, he could Bloodlust it and the power goes up and then the Old Man can't target it.
That's true. So I don't know if you want to cut that or not.
Do you think he should leave the Inferno in?
I think Inferno would be good because it can kill all his blue creatures in 1 fell swoop. I actually don't think the Blood Moons are great in this match because he's got tons of islands, Jacob does, and he's red, blue, and I don't think it's going to mess his mana up.
It's only going to shut down it'll shut down the 4 or 5 utility lands, right? The Maze of Ith, the Factory, the Diamond Valley, and the 2 City of Shadows. So there are quite a few utility lands that are critical to Jacob's strategy, but does he need all 3 of them?
Nah, I think he could easily cut 1 or 2, at least 1. I think you can also safely cut like a Jalen tome and probably the Winds of Change here just to make room for key cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he needs the Winds of Change, and I agree. So he could sideboard out the 2 Winds of Change, a Jalen Tome, and a Blood Moon. That would give him 4 cards, and he could sideboard in the 2 Crumbles, and because he has to have the Crumbles for that Ivory Tower. Like he's got to have those, and he could do 2 active Volcanoes if he's willing to. If he's willing to, I don't know, like, what else could he take out here?
I think he could cut, like, a Pyrotechnics. It's just a 1-for-1 against Jacob's deck.
But Pyrotechnics is one of the few cards that can actually take out an Azure Drake.
Okay.
And he needs the Pyrotechnics, the 4 Pyrotechnics, and the 4 active Volcanoes to be able to deal with all 8 of those flyers. So...
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Then probably cut some Bloodlusts.
Yeah, I think the Bloodlusts are just not the ideal card here because of Boomerang, and also, if Jacob gets a Regenerator down and they can just regenerate, Bloodlust is just going to sit in your hand until you can get rid of that card. You may have to do a 2-for-1, kill it twice so it can't regenerate a second time, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe taking out 2 of the Bloodlusts and put in those other 2 active Volcanoes.
Yeah, and the more I think about Stormseeker, Chad, I think it's actually better when your opponent is going to be on the draw. And I think Lorenzo won game 1, so I think Lorenzo will be on the draw. Jacob will be going first. A weakened Stormseeker, I think he's better off just playing the Crumbles against the tower. And I really think Stormseeker, the more I think about it, is probably better against like the Greater Realm of Preservation plan if you're going against white.
Yeah.
It's a green damage source to kill off your opponent that can prevent red burn.
Yeah. Okay, so in summary for Lorenzo, we're going to take out the 2 Winds of Change, 1 Jaloom Tome, 2 Bloodlusts, and a Blood Moon. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. And we'll put in the 2 Crumbles and the 4 active Volcanoes.
That sounds good.
All right. So let's get back over to the match. All right. Are we queued up here?
Yeah, I'm at 11:15.
All right. And on 3. 1, 2, 3.
But it looks like they don't even start until about 14:20.
All right, we'll jump ahead. Oh, quite a bit of sideboarding action then. All right, I'll jump to 14:20. All right, I'm at 14:20.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it at 14:20 and let me know when you're ready.
Actually, it's beyond 14:20. It looks like they started about.
Oh, Jacob takes a mulligan at 14:20. Jacob draws his hand and mulligan.
Okay, all right. I'm at 14:20 right now. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Jacob is mulliganing here. And one of the comments there from Derek was that Jacob beat Derek with a similar deck in the Forgotten Realms format.
It looks like 15 minutes is when they start. I take that back. You know that Jacob mulligans again at 15 minutes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's taking a second mulligan. Oh no. And he's on the play.
So if we go to like 15:45.
Okay, wow. I feel really bad for Jacob here. Yeah. All right, I'm at 15:45 on 3.
Hold on a sec. Hold on. I'm not there yet. I'm going to pause it when I get. Okay, 15:45.
All right, yeah, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I got to feel for Jacob here. He just got nothing but mana in game 1. He's having to double mulligan here in game 2. He's not running that many mana sources. He's only got 22 lands to tap for mana, and he was definitely flooded game 1. He must have had some really bad hands here.
Yeah, I don't know who wins this match, but I'm thinking Jacob is done, like 5 cards on the play.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard for him to come back from that. His one hope may be if he sided in that Mirror Universe, you know, if he can hold on to a mana drain in mana drain mirror universe, something like that late game, and swap life and finish off Lorenzo with a chain that could be his way out. Ivory Tower
look
could
at this,
still.
though. Lorenzo, he has no Curd Ape and no Pixie on turn 2. He finally played the turn 3 Pixie.
Yeah, he did not have a good hand. Obviously, he might have perhaps should have mulliganed his hand, because you want turn 1 Curd Ape.
Yeah, and Jacob's hand is amazing. He's got the Factory, he's got the Volcanic, he's got 4 mana.
There's the active Volcano. For you know, that card is so powerful in this format. Just poof, 1 blue, whatever, 1 red, and whatever blue thing you have is gone.
It's red blast, blue blast. They knew they needed it in their block format.
Right. But it is really, really powerful. I mean, some of the players are arguing that these cards are overpowered for given what else is in the format.
It won't stop spells, unlike red blast, blue blast. I think it's fair. It just shows that traditional prejudice that mountains have for islands and islands have for mountains.
Right. Okay, so Lorenzo's got a Pixie down, finally. Like, he's really struggled to get any of his good creatures on the board here. But at least he was able to active Volcano that Azure Drake, because that would have slowed down Lorenzo incredibly. But Jacob gets a Mazavith on turn 5 here. He hasn't missed a land drop. He's got some pretty good defense going on. And
5-card mulligan his hand is really good for 5-card.
You know, we didn't talk about it, but Mazavith, when you're putting in the 4 active Volcanoes, Mazavith's probably a card you could look at sideboarding out as well, especially when you got Blood Moons. Because he really does, you know, Jacob only has 12 creatures anyway, and you've got 8 cards to take out 8 of them, so do you need the Mazavith on Lorenzo's side? Maybe that was a card he could have sideboarded out. It's not aggro.
I think that's an interesting point. I had not considered it, but really, what are you mazing? A 2/4 flyer? Or
right. I mean, worst case scenario, you're taking 2 damage, you know, from one of the Drakes, unless it has Immolation on it. But it just doesn't seem great. It doesn't align with the aggro
the reason
strategy.
I think it's still good is if he plays out like Apes or double Pixie, and Jacob has a 2/4 blocker that he swings with his 3 2/2s, and he can maze the one he blocks to save it from dying.
That's true. That is one option. So Immolation is showing its prowess here, able to take out the Pixies. You know, these guys getting in for 2 damage every attack early, it could really slow the game down for Lorenzo. But Jacob's mounting a very strong defense, like you pointed out. Mistress Factory early, Mazavith, and now he's got Azure Drake number 2 with 3 cards.
So Lorenzo's also stuck on just 3 mana, and his 22 count of mana in the deck is starting to haunt him here a little bit. He's missing. We've seen him miss land drops multiple turns, both games.
Yeah, he finally gets his 3rd mountain here to get to 4 mana, and he's taking advantage of the fact that Jacob's tapped out pretty much. Here's where that Force Spike would have been killer, right?
Yes, and I think that was like a turn 6 or 7 Erhnam. So,
right. So the Force Spike, you know, if he had sideboarded those in, I'm guessing Jacob probably didn't. But if he had, he could have Force Spiked that Erhnam here pretty sneakily, and it would have been bad news for Lorenzo, I think.
The Force Spike is so good against the Erhnams, the Trites, the Pyrotechnics. I hope he boarded them in this match.
Likewise, yeah. Okay, so now Jacob's really starting to gain a strong footing here. He's got Diamond Valley, and he plays his 2nd blue flyer, the Indomitable Ghost Ship. If this guy survives here, it's going to turn the game.
Lorenzo needs to go like land Pyrotechnics on that Ghost Ship right now, or have an Octave Volcano. If Jacob untaps with those islands, that Ghost Ship is going to haunt him. No pun intended.
Yes, the entire game, right. Oh, wow. Erhnam number 2 coming down. So Lorenzo definitely does not have the Pyrotechnics here. And honestly, I would have attacked first in this scenario before playing that.
Yeah, well, the maze, but yeah. I mean, he had his own maze. Could he have just swung in with Pixie and Erhnam, and then he like blocked? What would he'd maze the Erhnam and block the Pixie, and then he would just maze his Pixie? Yeah, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. So what is he thinking here? He's in great shape. Look at this. He drew all three of his singleton lands.
Diamond Valley, Factory,
yeah.
Maze. Yeah, he's got really strong utility on those lands. And he's going to have a ton of life here, Jacob, because if he does get into a pinch, he can always sacrifice something to Diamond Valley now. What Lorenzo needs here is one of those Blood Moons.
Okay, Lorenzo finally got to 5 mana. This is where he's like, I'm holding 2 pyrotechnics.
Right, but now Jacob's got his offense and his defense on the board, and he's got a bunch of mana untapped, and Lorenzo's in a real tricky situation, staring down Maze of Ith and flying regenerators.
Yeah, the pyrotechnics hits the Azure Drake, and Jacob's like, okay, I'll gain 4 life with a Diamond Valley, or I'll boomerang it.
Right.
And if he hits the ghost ship, he's like, I'll regenerate it. The Maze is just Jacob's defenses are about as strong as they can get right now. Yeah. All I can say is I hope Lorenzo did not board out more than one of his 3 Blood Moons.
Yeah.
He needs a Blood Moon.
So it looks like Jacob's blocking one Erhnam with the Factory and the Drake, and blocking the other Erhnam with the ghost ship.
Yeah, that works. That will kill one of the Erhnams with the Factory and the Drake, unless he has a Bloodlust here.
So he should definitely use his Maze of Ith and save that Erhnam here that got double blocked.
I would. Yeah, I would save it. This attack is no good, I think. What do you think about this attack, Chad, from Lorenzo?
Well, he might not have thought it through, but we also don't know what's in his hand. He might be planning on playing some damage, some Chain Lightning, some Pyrotechnics after combat.
That's what it is. Look at this. He's tapping Jacob. He's sacrificing an Erhnam.
And now maybe he can take...
Why didn't he maze his own Erhnam there to save it?
Yeah, he could have mazed that other Erhnam to save it here. But now he can play Pyrotechnics to take out the ghost ship. There it is.
Yeah, well, I guess that was a good attack. You're right, because he's tapped out from the regenerate.
I don't know why Jacob's pointing at the Azure Drake. He's obviously targeting the ghost ship.
I don't know. Maybe Jacob's trying to Jedi mind trick him and say that the ghost ship's not the droid you're looking for.
Well, and of course, Jacob still has the option of Diamond Valley, so he's gonna.
He did go for the Azure in the Factory. Oh, wow.
What? Why not the...
He did kill the ghost ship.
Oh, because he wanted to take out the Factory and the Drake? But why not take out the ghost ship?
But he also... So, 2 crucial plays from Lorenzo, right? He didn't maze to save his Erhnam.
He could have saved his Erhnam here, and he didn't.
So, he wanted to put some damage. He didn't want to maze the Erhnam, because he wanted to put some damage. I guess he assigned some to the Azure Drake and some to the Factory. And then he finished them both all with Pyro. But I think you just save the Erhnam and kill the ghost ship. And you can keep the Azure and the Factory. 2 Erhnam and a Pixie.
He'd have 2 Erhnams, and he'd have the Pixie. He'd get rid of the ghost ship, so he would just have to deal with Maze of Ith.
Right. He would have had a Factory that can't block the Pixie, and so he just has an Azure Drake.
Yeah, that Factory is an artifact creature. It can't block.
And then he swings with 2 Erhnams and a Pixie, and it's like he can still maze any bad blocks from Jacob. I think he's in great shape against one flyer.
I think it was right for Lorenzo to attack, but hindsight's 20/20, and he could have saved his Erhnam there and had 2 Erhnams and a Pixie right now. And he didn't. And he
just got a regenerating blocker.
He didn't even use the Maze of Ith at all. There's no reason not to use it there.
Yeah, Lorenzo, I think he kind of punted that turn. We'll see. They're equal on cards, and I think Lorenzo, unless he gets a Blood Moon at this point, that was kind of a punt turn. Even a Blood Moon is not really going to help him. He's still got that regenerating blocker.
This is why Fisher is so strong in Four Horsemen. Fisher is also from the dark. There's the Triskelion and the removed soul. All right, so he's going to have another shot. Oh, but he's tapped out. No. Yeah, it's just Jacob's
He
having
needs
all the
that
answers
second
there.
Erhnam gin badly.
Yeah. I mean, it was looking like, Lorenzo was going to do a 2-0 shutout, but, hats off to Jacob. He's mounted a very, very, very strong defense this game that's really playing out well for him.
Yeah, he mulliganed to 5 and somehow managed to set his deck at 5 cards.
Yeah, that
he
is...
drew everything perfect.
Hats off to you, Jacob. A very, very impressive play here.
You're a lucky guy this game for a 5-card mulligan. But I will say, Lorenzo, I don't think he played that optimally. It was an interesting choice, but I don't know if it was optimal.
There's all kinds of play errors that we catch when we watch these videos, and it's so much easier when you're outside of the game and you're watching these things, as third parties, to catch a lot of suboptimal plays. And
you guys are sitting here on the camera. Sometimes it's weird on cam games, it just is. Like, it's just, you're not there in person, you're not present in the moment, and it's easy for your mind to like get distracted and not concentrate correctly on the board state.
So check this out.
Also, there's 4 viewers in the room as well. That could maybe distract or make these guys a little nervous knowing they got 4 guys watching.
Yeah, we got you, Tim, you're watching this game, Jack, Derek, and I'm recording. Yeah, so there's 6 people in total in this game. Meanwhile, Lorenzo just does a pyrotechnics and a chain lightning straight to Jacob's, as John Ecclebear says, straight to the face.
Okay.
Bringing Jacob down to 10. So he's not even messing with the creatures anymore. He's got a Maze of Ith, he's got an Erhnam, and he's just going the direct damage route. But that's risky. That's risky knowing that Mirror Universe is hanging out in there. He better have his crumbles ready.
Okay, so he just tried to burn the old man.
He should have just gone and burned Jacob. Like, forget about the old man.
Oh, now if Lorenzo has a pyrotechnics here, there's an opening.
There is. That's right. The Diamond Valley's out. So if that was bait, if that was pyrotechnics bait, that would have been genius on Lorenzo's
He didn't
part.
have it.
Damn. Well, he's already gone through 2 pyrotechnics and a couple of chain lightnings. Or has he done 3? He's got 3 pyrotechnics in the graveyard there.
Wow. I think Jacob is just looking really good. The longer it goes.
I agree. He's already back to 13 life after being down to 10, so... And
I suppose Lorenzo could still draw like a Sylvan Library, to get him back in this game. He needs something.
Oh, what is going on here?
Main phase. Well, he could have let him block and regenerate and then played it.
What is Lorenzo doing? No, Lorenzo, that thing regenerates. No, that's a total play error, Lorenzo.
So yeah, Jacob has only 2 blue and 1 red with that mountain.
Yes.
He blocked that Erhnam and regenerated.
Oh my goodness, he could have taken out the ghost ship so easily here. Oh, but he has the 4th pyrotechnics.
This time we got it.
But
wait a sec. He went to his dome. Straight to the face.
Wow, what is Lorenzo thinking? Does Lorenzo have
I don't know. I don't
Maybe
know.
Lorenzo has Inferno in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He must have an Inferno because he's got 7 mana.
If he wins this, I take back everything I said. He knew exactly what he was doing. I'm sorry, Lorenzo.
He's got Jacob down to 7, and here's a chain lightning taking out the Pixies. Interesting.
Okay, while Lorenzo's tapped out.
Lorenzo's tapped out, so he couldn't bounce it back. All right, so are we gonna see an Inferno? That would drop Jacob down to 1.
6 damage, right, Chad?
Double green. Here comes the Sylvan Library.
Oh, that was big. That's what I was saying, if he could draw that.
Now he's at 18 life, so he can draw some extra cards. Maybe he'll get into one of his Jaloom Tomes and can start... He doesn't need any more land this entire game. So now's when he wants to draw cards, get a Jaloom Tome, and then just start the engine, You can discard those lands off the top, and now you're digging deeper with the Sylvan. That's what he wants to do here. No, you need to take those extra cards, Lorenzo.
This could really get Lorenzo back in the game.
He didn't take an extra card. What's going on here?
Yeah, I don't know. Huh.
That's surprising.
I would have probably just paid eight and went to 10.
Well, maybe he doesn't want to be too aggressive because if he knows Inferno's coming down, he doesn't want to be too low himself. He doesn't have Diamond Valley. Jacob's sitting on 5 cards over there. What do you think Jacob's got in his hand?
Probably remove souls. Probably active flash flood because he hasn't played any of those for like Blood Moon.
Right.
Maybe a boomerang at this point.
We haven't seen the Curd Apes, so I wonder if Lorenzo was thinking along the lines of I was about how Curd Apes really bad with Old Man and Chain Lightning, and maybe you just side those Curd Apes out.
Could have been, especially if he thought, he's just going to board in Flash Flood. I'll board out some apes and Blood Moons.
Yeah, he's either going to steal the apes or Flash Flood them, so they're just not great. Okay, here comes the Ivory Tower. Now,
no.
Jacob's sitting on 5 cards, so now Jacob's going to start gaining life.
Yeah.
Now, Lorenzo does have those 2 crumbles in his sideboard, and surely he looked at the decks and the deck photos. I think he needs to get very aggressive and draw more cards here. He's not doing that.
Yeah, I probably would have paid. I'd probably be at 10 life already if I was Lorenzo and drawn 2 more cards.
All right, is this the Blood Moon? It's the Jaloom Tome. Okay, now this is very good. If this doesn't get mana drained, I'd be very tempted if I was Jacob to mana drain that Jaloom Tome.
Yeah, will he remove soul that probably?
There's the remove soul on Erhnam. That's Erhnam number 3, I think.
Yep. Okay. This is actually an interesting, at this point, the game looks very interesting. It looks like it could go either way.
Yeah. I mean, Lorenzo was really trailing behind, and Jacob has fought really hard to get back in the kind of controlling position. He's done quite well with that. He's settling in even stronger now with the Ivory Tower. What Lorenzo really wants now is a Blood Moon to shut off the Diamond Valley and Maids of Ith, and he is probably hoping to dig into his Inferno. He may have sideboarded an Inferno in,
He may have. It's a good finisher, and it takes out all of Jacob's flyers and Old Man all at once. He may be holding one and just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah. All right, there's the other Erhnam. Will we
Okay.
see remove soul number 3? No, doesn't look like it.
It's like, I'll just gain a life. I'll just maze it and regenerate with my blocker.
Yeah, he's not even really worried about it. He's more worried about Triskelion.
Yeah, that's true.
Now he's trickling upward in life. He can just hold and save all of his cards here. I always go into card saving mode when I'm on Ivory Tower.
This is what I predicted. It could come down to, for Jacob, the tower, if he can get that going. Lorenzo has 2 crumbles. That's a problem for his deck. The life gain is a big deal against Red Burn.
You're right. This is exactly what you predicted. And I'm wondering if Lorenzo did not sideboard in any crumbles, He's got 2 of them. I definitely would have done it because he cannot deal with the Ivory Tower, and it would be an auto win for Jacob. So I also think he should really be digging. You can dig 2 cards deeper. If you play Jaloom Tome and Sylvan Library together, you can get a land off the top, and you're drawing 1 card, and so you're going to be looking at 2 more extra cards every turn. You just keep putting that land on top when you don't need it. And it's a really powerful engine. I really think Lorenzo needs to be leaning into that more.
Yeah, I agree. Use it at the draw step.
Oh, look at this. He sideboarded in Stormseeker.
Oh, he did bring that in. I wonder if that's going to get
and then Jacob's got 6 cards here. Whoa.
What if he'll just mana drain that,
Does he have mana drain? He has flash
counter.
Oh my goodness. Flash counter on the Stormseeker.
So they both brought in cards that we didn't necessarily predict, right?
Wow.
That's interesting.
When's the last time you saw somebody Stormseeker an opponent and it getting flash countered?
Not for a long time.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Probably not since 1995 or 6 if I saw it.
Doesn't that bring a little joy and smile to your face? This is what's cool about Four Horsemen. Okay, so Lorenzo, you got to start digging, my friend. You got to start drawing. You're falling behind every turn here. Okay,
there you go.
There we go. All right, Lorenzo takes an extra card, bringing him to I think 5 cards now. Now he needs to be making sure to put a land on top when he digs. Now he can Jaloom Tome again.
Yeah, because Lorenzo's life is just a resource. Like, Jacob has put 0 offensive pressure this whole game.
Yeah.
And what's he worried about? Like, if he goes to 10, he has a maze out. So, like, what's, a couple of chain lightnings won't kill him. Oh, there we go. Oh, now he can regenerate again. That ghost ship is haunting him, no pun intended, right?
Yeah, ghost ship is so strong.
He had the opportunity. He could have killed it twice now.
Yeah. I mean, he really messed up much earlier in that match. There was 2 different ways he could have killed it, and saved one of his Erhnams. He could have had 3 Erhnams this whole time in play. I think Lorenzo's play errors have really cost him in this match.
So, although you also mentioned he doesn't have Fissure, right? Also,
he does not. Lorenzo is not running Fissure, and 2 Fissure is almost mandatory in every deck that's running red these days.
Because it can take out Diamond Valley or Ghost Ship or Maze.
Yes, Diamond Valley, Maze, Ghost Ship, any creature, instant, can't regenerate, gone. All these utility lands, gone. It's so strong.
Maybe he thought, well, I've got Blood Moon, so maybe
he was relying on Blood Moon. That's why he did not go the Fissure.
I mean, he could have killed that Ghost Ship without Fissure.
He's had multiple opportunities to kill it. And maybe, at the time he was thinking, I'm just going to go for the direct damage. Oh, no. Ghost Ship number 2. That is bad news for Lorenzo here.
Oh, no.
As we like to say, that's bad.
Lorenzo needs to call Ghostbusters, Chad.
That'd be a good name for the next deck, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters for the anti-Ghost Ship deck.
I mean, Ghost Ship is an absolute powerhouse in Four Horsemen. It's a card that we all played as kids from the dark, and it's not even like a 20-cent common. You get them for free basically.
Yeah, I remember Ghost Ships being 10 cents at the card shop, at the comic shop, and I was like in 1995, 94.
They're still about the same.
That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, they have not appreciated.
That's sad, though. I feel like, they reprinted it.
They reprinted it a lot, yeah. Okay, so if you're Lorenzo here, what's going through your mind right now?
I'm just, if what's going through my mind is, I'm hoping I can let go of past mistakes and just breathe and let go of the self-guilt and condemnation here, because I would be frustrated at myself if I'm Lorenzo this game.
Yeah, I mean, he just wasted a couple of these active volcanoes, just completely wasted them. He threw away an Erhnam because he could have mazed it, and he missed 2 chances to kill the Ghost Ship, and he didn't kill it on both opportunities.
He burned Jacob with the pyrotechnics, and now Jacob
when he could have taken that Ghost Ship down. Yeah, and I understand. Maybe he was just thinking of going straight for damage directly to the player, and that's the way I'm going to win. But, Ivory Towers really changed things, and the Diamond Valley has also been a big problem.
Yeah, it sure has. If I'm Lorenzo, I'm just thinking, I hope he's not holding a grudge. I just hope he can go into game 3. I'd be thinking, let me just go into the next. If I lose this game, which he's going to have to accept, he may lose this game now, and say, even though he mulliganed to 5 and this happened, if I lose, I need to go into game 3 and just have a clean mind, a clean slate, and not dwell on mistakes.
Yeah, agreed.
So I don't see how he's getting through Maze, Double Ghost Ship, Tower, and Diamond Valley.
Yeah. Okay, so
I would almost just scoop.
Okay, so Lorenzo, interesting. Lorenzo, 1 Erhnam is getting through here. Or he mazed an Erhnam, and he blocked an Erhnam.
Yeah.
And he mazed the Erhnam, he blocked the Triskelion, and he let an Erhnam through because he can only regenerate 1 Ghost Ship here.
Oh, wait a second. Did he just win this?
Oh my goodness! What? Oh yeah, so he gets in for 8 damage with
the
unblocked Erhnam, and now he's got a Triskelion with 2 counters. So that's going to force Jacob to Diamond Valley a creature. All right.
Oh man!
Wow. here we are bashing on Lorenzo, and he had a genius. He had a mad genius strategy the whole time.
So we're back. I don't mean to bash. But look what happened. So Jacob chose to double block a creature with a ghost ship or something to try to kill it, and he double blocked a trike with the 2 ghost ships instead of just saying block maze.
Block maze. You could right. And
double blocks.
And he had enough mana to regenerate both. He's got 6 blue. So
look at this chain lightning.
Oh my gosh! So that's gonna bring Jacob down to 1, and he cannot bounce the chain lightning back because it'll kill him. Wow.
So if you were Jacob, would you have tried to double block that trike there, or would you have just made the safe play and block maze?
I think block maze would have been a better move. I'm not sure why he did that. I guess because he was trying to kill the trike. But the trike's just going to fire off its arms anyways. Like, you're not really going to get an advantage. And then he had enough mana to regenerate both ghost ships, so why not do that?
I don't know.
Lucas has joined the spectators here. So now we have 2, 4, 6, 7 players in this match. And meanwhile, Jacob's on. He's still gaining some life though. He was on 1. He's gained 2 from the ivory tower. So the crumble is an absolute necessity here.
Wow. I'm just thinking, all the while, Lorenzo, he drew the Sylvan, he drew the Jalem Tome. Mm-hmm. We knew he had a chance to really get back in this game with those 2 cards.
Yeah.
And all it takes for Jacob to kind of just make one little choice that could alter the course of this game.
And that was it.
Wow.
That was it. Yeah, he should have spread his blocks out, covered all of his bases, not let any damage through. And
it opens the door, it opens the window up for that possible bloodlust there.
Right.
And that's the damage.
Yes, that's right. And now, his name of his deck is Erhnam's Lust. Like, Jacob knows he's playing Bloodlust here. Meanwhile, Lorenzo is taking an extra card, and he's going to Jaloom Tome away some extra lands that he doesn't need. Oh, it's a second Jaloom Tome. Ooh, I don't know. I think I would have wanted to play that card. I would have. Surely he has another land in hand, right?
He played a land. He just played it out.
Oh, no. He does not. He does not need any more lands here. That's terrible. He should have played that second Jaloom Tome.
Okay.
Then you can Jaloom Tome twice and get everything out of the way, and you're digging with Sylvan.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he played that mountain. I think he played a mountain.
He did not need an extra land here. He has all the land he needs.
Okay. Not sure. Did he play the mountain? I guess he did. 2
Jaloom Tomes and a Sylvan Library is baller. You can literally get rid of every piece of crap, every land. You're going to be digging
3 new cards.
You're going to dig in 2 cards with the Jaloom, 1 for your draw, and 2 for Sylvan. You're going to be digging 5 cards a turn. Come on.
Yeah. Erhnam's Lust would be balls deep into that library.
That's right.
2 floppy books and a Sylvan.
That should be the name of your next deck, Tim.
Oh, no.
Balls Deep Ghostbusters.
Okay, that's funny.
We gotta figure
Tomes and Sylvan.
Okay, so he's coming in with both Erhnams. Block. Now the Kurt Ape is coming down, so there is the possibility that.
He got him again.
It's okay. So the ghost ship is going to get double regenerated. Now he's mana draining that active volcano. So Jacob's holding that mana drain.
He main phased the flash flood to tap a blue, and that blue was relevant.
Okay, now Jacob has 5 cards or 4 cards. I guess he had 5, and he used the mana drain, so he went down to 4. So no life for Jacob on this turn.
Okay. He's still at a healthy 6 unless an Inferno gets played.
Yeah. Inferno.
And he played the mana drain there.
But Inferno would wipe out all the Erhnams, and then Jacob could just Diamond Valley his ghost ship. Gain 4.
Yeah, he had to play the mana drain there, I guess. Because he would have lost his ghost ship to regeneration. He didn't have 6 blue.
Now this is interesting.
What?
He's
so,
whoa.
Why is he doing that main phase when he could possibly catch Lorenzo trying to bloodlust that ape when it gets through,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
he could flash flood.
Yeah, he should not be doing that at that point. He should definitely be waiting and seeing what Lorenzo's going to do with his attack.
Yeah, instant speed can be used to his advantage. Lorenzo has nothing to get that card out of his hand, or he could even hold it and possibly gain life if Lorenzo doesn't even attack him.
That's right.
So yeah, this is. What if Lorenzo draws a strip mine or something, or a blood moon here for that maze, or that would be big, right?
See, this is where the 2 Jaloom Tomes could be killer. You know, he should have pitched that extra land and played the Jaloom Tome. He'd have 2 Jaloom Tomes in play and be digging 5 every turn. And yeah, he might lose a few cards off the top, but there's going to be extra lands in there, and you can get rid of them, which is really powerful. And draw something else.
Jacob's up to 5 cards.
All right, so Jacob hits he gets another life now from that tower. This tower has, in that Diamond Valley, have just been phenomenal for Jacob. And hats off to Jacob. Like, he's kept his cool. He was in a really dominant controlling position the entire game. And Lorenzo's made several play errors, or at least we caveated them as play errors. Got him down to 1 life, and Lorenzo did. And now Jacob's back to 6. Been quite the battle.
I just wish Jacob would have held that flash flood for that ape and seen what transpired. If he swings, if he plays anything, do you need to kill it, and possibly gain the life or get a bloodlust out of Lorenzo's hand there?
Yeah, I totally agree. And these are the things that make the difference, right? All these subtle, slightly superior plays, they all add up.
Also, the City of Shadows there. Jacob played a city. Why not just hold that and gain life with the tower?
Yeah, why would he be playing that here? Unless he has an immolation and an old man in his hand, there's no reason whatsoever to play that City of Shadows. He should hold it and gain life.
They could be getting tired, like it could be late at night. That's something to consider.
Well,
but he needs the life gain.
Yeah, okay, so the other Curd Ape comes down, and that's going to put Lorenzo back to having 3 creatures. So Jacob can deal with 2 of them right now, so this might give him some more. Oh, wow.
Stormseeker.
Stormseeker.
That was the card I said. That's what I said. He needs to bring that in against the Ivory Towers.
Wow, you're right. It's really been interesting. It got flash countered in earlier. It's just taken off the 5-6 life here, and
now if he would have held that City of Shadows, Chad, he'd be at 3 right now.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's right. He would have gained more life. He chain lightnings that Curd Ape. He cannot deal with a 3rd attacker. Meanwhile, Lorenzo is tapped out, and
Lorenzo tapped his mana wrong. If he would have left a mountain instead of that forest, he could have bounced the chain back.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're seeing all kinds of little subtle, little things that really matter.
So interestingly, he's immolating an Erhnam Djinn and then chain lightning it to take out a bigger creature.
Ugh, I don't like that either because that's less cards in his hand. I'd rather let him.
Well, but now he can deal with he can block the Curd Ape, and maze the Erhnam, or something along those lines.
He's got to gain the life, Chad. He needs to, he could be at 3 or 4, and then next turn he could be going up to 5 or 6.
Yeah. Yeah, playing that City of Shadows was not optimal. It's costing him a life every turn he could be gaining.
But also he just chains the ape there and lets him mazes in Erhnam and blocks in Erhnam. He still has more cards. That's 2 more cards in his hand. He has 6 cards.
Yeah. Yeah, holding the 2 for 1 when you're trying to gain Ivory Tower. Oh, looky here.
And that's it.
Here's Inferno. Wow, Lorenzo with the Inferno. Oh my goodness. The mana drain's already been used. He's at 2 life. He can only gain 4 from his ghost ship. And it wipes Jacob out.
Yeah. Oh, Jacob.
Wow. But that Stormseeker.
If he held the city, he'd been at 3, and then he can sack the ghost ship and go to 7, and take 6, go to 1, and all the creatures are gone.
Oh my gosh, you're right. The playing of the city probably cost him that match there.
Yeah, he didn't need it. Tough luck. Tough match. Mulligan to 5. What do you want?
Great game, all around. Just what a fantastic battle, right?
I thought Jacob had that game. They went back and forth so many times. That ended up being a really good game.
So he did put in the crumbles, but he never saw him. And, hats off to Lorenzo here. He was patient. He made many play errors. He recovered. Maybe they weren't play errors. We were caveating them as such, but damage straight to the face was what Lorenzo was always focused on. And we're over here, critiquing and criticizing. Meanwhile, his plan is to get into that Inferno and those Stormseekers and finish off Jacob, and that's exactly what he did.
I mean, it worked out. He won the game. So, yeah, hats off to Lorenzo, and congrats on, looks like he's going on to the finals. Tournament
That's
19.
right. So let's get back to the graphics here. So Erhnam's Lust. Lorenzo takes down Jacob's Old Man in the Sky with diamonds. This means Lorenzo will be proceeding to the finals. This is Lorenzo's first finals match. And if you've watched any of the other matches, we'll leave it as a surprise for you as to who he will face in the finals. Stay tuned for that finals match for Tournament 19 in the next video. And Tim, thanks for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you being here and doing this with me.
It was a lot of fun, Chad. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy hanging out and watching some old school Four Horsemen magic with you, brother.
Awesome. If you'd like to play some Four Horsemen magic, check us out at fourhorsemenmagic.com. Tournament 20 is going on right now, and we're in our starting our second week. You can join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/4horsemenmtg. With that, Tim and I will be signing off. Thank you for joining us, and tune in for the next video coming up next, Tournament 19 Finals. Good night, everybody. See you next time.
Good night.